Anybody really pushing back on this? Yes, if you would put together a sample, and we'll put it on a future agenda. Probably not on the 15th, because it's getting pretty full already, but we'll look at it. It's getting very full. Okay. No other comments on that. We'll move on to approval of boards and commissions appointments. There are 3. Mark Lelly, initial appointment for the Planning Commission. Mike Timku, reappointment to the Albion Building Authority, and Elaine Seedorf, reappointment to the Albion Building Authority. May I have a motion? Okay. Is there support?
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the 3 appointments say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, they are approved. All right. Okay, item C, discussion and approval of the first reading of ordinance 2019-05 and ordinance to create section 58228, prohibition on selling, giving, or furnishing a tobacco product, vapor product, or possession, attempted, I think I screwed up, my apologies, vapor product or alternative nicotine product to a minor, and 58229, prohibition on possession, attempted possession, or use of tobacco products, vapor products, or alternative nicotine products by a minor. City Attorney Harkness, would you?
Need a motion.
That's true. Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Support? Thank you.
Okay, so, the state has always had, regulations prohibiting minors from, well, both prohibiting businesses from selling, giving, or furnishing tobacco products to minors. That's been on the books for a while. But in the last couple of years, the new thing that has developed is vaping. And so, because it's not regulated, or at least it was not regulated in the same way as tobacco, kids were getting vape devices to consume either tobacco products or marijuana products, or some of them just get fruity flavored stuff to put in a vape thing. And the problem that's developing, not just here in Albion, but across the state, is you have kids literally sitting in class vaping, which obviously the schools were not happy about. So what the state did is it passed Public Act 18 of 2019, which basically it created a vaping statute, and it consolidated it with the minor, the tobacco statute. And so what I've developed for you here is literally the exact same language from the statute, but it allows us to enforce it on a local level. It prohibits businesses and individuals from selling, giving, or furnishing a tobacco product, a vapor product, or alternative nicotine product to a minor. A first offense, furnishing to a minor, is a misdemeanor with a $100 fine. Second offense is a misdemeanor with a $500 fine. There is under the state law, it actually increases from there, but since we're a home rule city, we're capped at $500. As it relates to the vaping, so obviously they cannot purchase, attempt to purchase, minors cannot purchase or attempt to purchase tobacco products, vapor products, or alternative nicotine products if they attempt to do so. A first offense is a misdemeanor with a $50 fine. Actually it's a $50 fine and a misdemeanor for each violation, but they add community service hours and participation in health promotion, risk reduction assessment programs for subsequent offenses. If they attempt to get the alternative, the new products, the new products, that is a civil infraction. $50 fine for the first violation, $50 fine for the second violation with increasing community service, and a third offense is a misdemeanor, $50 fine with increasing community service and health aspects to it. So, I provided the definitions of alternative nicotine products and vapor products in the latter part of the statute, or the latter part of the ordinance, but as I said, it mirrors the state statute almost word for word. We've just integrated it into a local ordinance so that we can enforce it locally. This doesn't apply to adults whatsoever, other than not furnishing to kids. This is just for persons under 18 years of age, and primarily to prohibit this conduct within the schools. Yes, ma'am.
So is the fines and the things for the people who provide it for the child, or is it for the child too?
Both.
I was gonna say both need to have it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance. Please read the roll.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Spicer,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Okay. Next item is request approval for bid for Mead Brothers Excavating for Irwin Avenue project. The dollar value is $2,294,000. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Discussion. What?
Explanation on it?
Yes.
All right, well, we had bid openings last Tuesday, June 25th. We received 6 bids for the Urban Ave project. And as Mayor just stated, Mead Brothers Excavating, Inc. came in as the lowest responsive bidder. Before you is a recommendation from Mickey Bittner with Whitman and Associates. And this recommendation is in concurrence with the MDDC for approval. I just want to note that the project was bid out in 2 phases, just because we got going on this later than we anticipated. So it's really depending on the construction company if they're able to do it all in one project. But if not, we're looking to have phase 1 from Finley to Woodlawn completed this year with a completion date of November 28th. And then with this phase 2 being from Finley to Superior Street and with the completion date of July 31st. So after the bid is approved by council as well as the MDDC, a construction meeting will be held within the next few weeks. And then they're looking to begin digging the 1st of August.
Councilmember Williamson?
So I just want to ask the question. So it's $2,294,000, 900 and some. We have $2 million from
MED.
state. Where does the other $294,000 come from?
That falls on the city to cover.
So
No.
we,
I'm sorry, I was going to add that I've already spoken with Scott Kipp on this. We will be going back. The reason that, well, there's probably a variety of reasons, but most notable is the fact that the estimates were based on 2 years ago. The economy wasn't quite as vibrant it is now, so a lot of construction firms were cutting their margin of profit way down. Now there's plenty of work going on, and so those profit margins have gone back up. That's one of the reasons that the amount has come in. It's been 2 years since the original estimate. People have plenty of work to choose from, so that's another reason the cost goes up, supply and demand. So, but our intention is to go back and see if we can get that increased. But in the end, if we can't, then the city is going to have to fund that. But because, again, we're so late into the year getting started, which was primarily because of issues with permits, not issues at the city level, but with the Department of Transportation and Eagle Environmental Quality, anyway, used to be Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. Those were the delays in the permits. This was why we're late into this. So by splitting it up into 2 years, it makes it a little bit more palatable if we're unable to get a plus up in funding to cover that additional cost.
so we're still approving we're still approving this with no plan to cover the $294,000. Okay.
We'll have to come out of our budget.
Which
Where?
one? Which one?
Well, we have a surplus. Okay, so we have a surplus in our budget. By surplus, what I mean is the guidelines and rules of thumb, and Mr. Meek could probably do a much better job, but essentially 15% of your annual budget is the surplus that you have, and we have roughly double that. So they're fund balance, thank you, thank you.
I would recommend that we utilize the road improvement fund before we turn to pulling from the rainy day fund in our general fund
And
balance.
when we get to covered, it's gonna come from Mr. Mead and the city manager, and then the council will make a decision.
You're gonna tell us how much is in the road improvement fund?
If you'd like, yes, I would speak on this some.
I would.
Okay, Tom Mead, Finance Director, and forgive me, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me tonight. Of course, we had that presentation for general fund a couple weeks back, and as you're well aware, there were a decent fund balance available in general fund. The thing I'll point out on this too, when we get into these construction projects like this on streets, there's a couple other things to look at. Number one, we have our annual property tax assessment for street improvements, so that comes in each year. It pulls in about 220, 230,000. This project, because it will go into next year, we would not only be looking at, and by the way, if I can back up a little bit, when we did the 19 budget, the current year budget, we did budget a match for this Irwin Ave project. Going by memory, I think it was 125,000. Granted, that will it come in higher in cost, so that what we budgeted already will not cover all of it, but we do have a portion of it covered. Now, going back to where I was saying, that was looking at using the tax millage that come in 19. Because this project will now go into 2020, we would also have that 230,000 available that comes in 2020 to put towards this project as well, if that makes sense. The other element to this is we also look at the other pieces of the construction that we're doing, and in this case there will be water lines, so it's not all going to be a street expense. Some of this, that extra, that overage will get divided up between more than just one fund. It'll get divided up between, the street improvement fund, the tax millage that comes in, the water fund, because they're doing water lines. I don't recall if there's sewer lines. There's sewer lines. And of course, what we've been trying to do as well, and actually we have to do this, is when you do the crosswalks and any of that kind of stuff where there's the ADA compliant ramps and that kind of stuff, we can count that towards our non-motorized money that we need to spend. We are out of compliance right now because we have not spent enough of that money. And we need to spend about 90,000 of that. So anything on that project that we can, that will qualify for that ADA compliant or non-motorized expenditures, we can also draw from that fund of that 90-some thousand. So between the 2 years, tax millage, splitting it over multiple funds, and because we have this non-motorized money available, I don't see this as being a big problem. But unfortunately, I don't have all the numbers laid out right in front of me tonight. But does that help? So,
Thank you.
It helps tremendously, thank you.
Other questions, comments by council?
So I'm supportive of moving forward this particular bid and being affirmative for it, but I think this particular situation has a couple of issues that council has right now. One of them is that we don't have a city manager to help guide these processes along with council. The other is that it just would be nice to have a complete understanding of how these projects get funded in the first place, because you explain that it's really nice, but I don't want to go on a spending spree in the general fund. I think it's great that we have that general fund. We're very unique in the state for having that, and we did just spend a ton of money out of it last meeting, and so it felt a little weird that we were maybe going to put it on the hook for another $294,000 when that money could be used for other things that could really do some other improvements in the community. So thank you for that explanation.
If I can add to what you, respond to what you said, I'm with you. I don't want to draw any more out of the general fund balance than absolutely necessary, especially on this project. I don't foresee us having to rely on general fund balance that much, because like I said, we did budget for a portion of the match. Now we're looking at 2 years, so we'll be taking in extra money, and we have some other funds to draw from. So I think between all that, I don't think it's going to be much of an impact on the general fund.
Any other questions? Seeing none, please call the roll. This is for approval for the bid for Mead Brothers Excavating for Irwin Avenue project at $2.294 million.
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Spicer,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed, and Mayor Atchison.
Aye, yes. Okay. Next item is request approval for proposal for Victory Park Dam Assessment. It's approximately $20K plus 6%, roughly 1,100, something like that. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay, and second?
Support.
Thank you. Discussion. Mr. Phillips.
Basically, what we're looking for in our entire asset management plan and comprehensive plan is understanding some of the larger expense items that we have, the dam being one of them. There's been discussion about removing the dam, there's been discussion about repairing the dam, but we don't have any actual numbers or understanding what the problems are with our dam. So we need basically an engineering assessment done to specify all of those issues that we may have with the embankments, with the water, with any types of impoundments. All of that needs to be studied and make sure that it's secure. We need a full report on what isn't okay with the dam. With that said, if the movement is more toward removing the dam without having this study done, that is part of the discussion as well. So I don't think that's a part of this discussion. I'm asking for approval to get the assessment done. But in the future, we can't have an intelligent conversation over whether we remove it or fix it without having this assessment done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'll entertain any questions.
So,
Councilmember Spicer.
thank you. So tell me the purpose of the dam. If we can remove it and without problem, apparently, you said that may be an option. So what purpose is it serving?
It's not serving any purpose at this point. To be very frank and honest, yeah, it's a dam that was put up in, 1901 or something like that. And it's been around a long time, so it's basically just at this point a dam for the citizens of Albion to enjoy its beauty. That's about it. There's no purpose for it at all at this point.
Who do we turn to get an assessment of if the dam is removed? What is the waterway going to look like? How is that going to impact the residents that live along it? Who do we turn to?
Right, through the, what is Linda part of? Project Rising Tide, is that Linda? Yeah. Project Rising Tide, there is a committee taking a look at the removal of that dam and what that would mean. There are funds available through grants to remove a dam. There are no funds to fix a dam. We're not going to get any grants whatsoever for that. So the onus would be on the city to provide the funding if we choose to fix whatever, in this case, Whiteman would find as from an engineering standpoint on that.
So who's on this committee that's making this assessment and determination of what the impact would be?
Linda? Yeah. Linda's been involved in that. There's just been basically, we had a Project Rising Tide meeting a while back. There was a committee that discussed that. There hasn't, it's basically a discussion committee at this point. It's not a founded, well, there is a group of people, but that's about the extent of it.
I'm interested in what expertise, when people are assessing what the impact is going to be. I mean, I could tell you what I think the impact is, but I have no expertise in that area.
Yep, so Professor Tom Welch at the college has actually done studies already to determine the impact of the removal and the flow of water, how that would change, who would be primarily affected by that. So he is part of the group. We met one time. Mark Lely has also been instrumental in connecting us with the director of facilities at Albion College. We also have representatives from state departments I'm trying to look up. So DNR, I think is, primarily through DNR. We have 3 different people who have reached out and offered their expertise, and they each have individual separate things. And so hopefully that helps. But there already have been studies done regarding the impact, the benefit for users in having a more clear pathway through the river. And so some of that work has already happened, but in terms of the city's requirements and that impact on, the funding of that, all of those things have not been researched.
Questions by council? Councilmember Williamson.
Okay, so there are studies that have been done about the impact of removing that dam, and then,
There've been preliminary studies done, and looking at it, what would be the effect of that. The goal of the DNR is always to return the river to its original. They pick a date basically as far back as they could go, and they return that riverbed, riverbank, back to the original river prior to that dam being installed.
okay, so what I'm getting at is like we actually have some preliminary studies that would show what the result of removing the dam would look like. And then this money is for an assessment of the current dam and what it would take to fix it.
Mhm.
But we don't have the information from the preliminary studies of what removing the dam would look like. So I'm wondering, is there a way we could see that before, is there a way we could see that before making a decision? Because if the people and the experts in our own community have said this is what it would look like, it would be better, or it won't affect things all that much for residents living around that area, why waste another $20,000 out of our general fund to assess fixing something that doesn't actually need to be fixed, it just needs to be ripped apart, and we can get money to.
I fully agree. My purpose in coming forward with this assessment of the dam is to be able to have that piece of information so that we are, if the decision is to keep it, we need to be able to make an informed decision. Without this study, we can't. So there's kind of a
So maybe we decide if
two-pronged
we really
thing.
want to keep it.
I think that's the decision that needs to be made, is do we want to keep it? And if it's the goal to remove it, then we don't need the study, and we need to switch gears and go to in a completely different
Is
direction.
that information, can that
So
information
I can
submitted
follow
to
up with a few
council?
more details of what we've been provided so far. So in terms of what he's asking for, a feasibility study is required to pursue any route that we want to take, and this college has not conducted that. So we do have missing information. In terms of what the college has conducted, from just a really brief, a lot. So we were already working on this through Rising Tide, and then the tragedy at a different dam than what we're discussing right now has prompted further, more in-depth discussion. And so one of the things that was mentioned in just emails, we haven't met in person, was that the college has studied water flow rates on the mill race in the original natural channel of the North Branch. They calculated that 80 to 90% of the volume of the North Branch flows down the mill race. Moving all of this flow back to the original channel would likely cause significant flooding for at least 2 houses near the forks where the South Branch and North Branch converge. And so that is the extent of what we've been told through the college. We can obviously follow up to see the full study that they've conducted, but it is very different than what we're
Councilmember Reed.
Where is the dam? Is it over by where the college football field is, or is it?
There's actually 3 dams. There's 2 small dams. There's one that is actually damming the North Branch of the Kalamazoo River right now, and that is at the old swimming hole, Dutchtown. So there's a small dam there that diverts water to the mill race that comes down comes out on Erie Street and then converges back in behind Thompson's.
Okay.
So there's also another lock dam there that has gates that move up and down. So And that's where the tragedy occurred, was on that particular dam. And that would be the mill race proper. So we actually have two other small ones.
Yeah, I thought there was one over by the college football field.
That's Dutchtown in that area, but that's on the south side of the north branch of the Kalamazoo River.
And this 20,000 is to assess the major one in Victory Park itself
Yes,
proper?
correct,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Because we're still trying to figure out ownership on those other two dams because, well, we understand that the college has a right-of-way or some sort of property rights on the mill race proper, and that comes down a straight shot, basically. I don't think we've really we haven't really gotten to the bottom of that completely.
Councilmember Spicer.
Thank you, Mayor. I think if Councilman Williamson would have kept talking, he probably would have hit the points that I can't put my finger on, but I think that we have some information that we haven't seen, don't have in front of us, and I think I'd like, you have some information, Linda, you said that the Rising Tide Committee has about this. I think I'd like to see more info. And is Albion College able to aid the city in this assessment anyway? Because you said they had done some studies. So I think, I don't know what questions to ask, but I know I'm not bought into paying the $20,000 for this assessment at this point, so.
Table.
I need some more.
Councilmember Clark.
So, if I'm hearing correctly, we built a dam for a reason at one time because there was something that happened in history where we put these dams in place. We don't have any records of history of what it prevented.
No, I can tell you what it was for.
Okay.
The original dam was placed, there's an upper third pond, we call it the upper pond, that is on the, however you want to look at it. It's the pond with the locks that we had the problem with the flooding last year. There's a pond up there.
That they covered over.
Yeah, well, no, this one isn't covered over. It still has locks right there that are a part of the dam system off of Haven Road. Okay? That all came into a pond and was controlled by locks and a gated system for exiting. That went down to another lower pond that has been covered. That pond then went under the road and went to Rieger Parks Pond now. And then there was a flow of water that went from that pond to the electric company that was there on the corner, just on Erie Street, back in the parking lot area there. And then it exited onto the river just close to Cass Street. So that original dam was to divert some of that water into the pond for electricity and mills and anything else that used water in the city of Albion back in at its construction.
Councilmember Williamson.
So will this particular assessment give you all case scenario of what it would look like if we took it out, / what we need to do to fix it, or is this just to fix it?
This is just basically what I would wanted to do with this was, and I had forgotten what Linda said with we really need an assessment, probably not to this degree for removal, but we would need an assessment done. But this is basically to give us a clear understanding of what it would take to not only fix the problems with the dam as it currently is to keep it, what it would cost to maintain it. That's what this study is supposed to be, is designed to do.
Okay. Councilmember Lawler.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want the council to be aware that we do have lots and lots of projects. So as I'm listening tonight, we're spending more and more money. Not saying that it's not important, but us as individuals will probably just need to think about what's important to them first and so forth. So
I just want to offer, I don't want to delay this for too long because the dam in Victory Park, we do have to address it at some point. And the longer that we prolong it, it's going to end up costing us more. So We are going to have to do an asset management plan to see what it is going to take to fix it, and then just if we decide to fix it, just to upkeep, for the upkeep. But then we also will need to conduct a feasibility study to see if we do, instead of deciding to fix, what it will take or look like if we decide to remove it. And I just want to reiterate what Director Phillips said. Speaking with the DNR, there are more grant funding available for removal. This is something that is happening across the state of Michigan. More municipalities are looking to remove the dams because it is extremely expensive to maintain and keep up with dams.
Okay. Councilmember Williams.
This particular assessment, would this be critical to the entire asset management plan to the city?
Moving forward, if the dam is kept, yes.
If.
So, but in,
Okay.
I'd like to go back to,
Because I'm inclined to vote for getting the assessment done. I'm trying to find every reason to say, yes, we should do this assessment, but it's getting
the problem that it is a difficult situation because we've just allowed the dam to sit there for years. And it's deteriorated on the sides. And one of these days, it's gonna go. We don't know when. We already have problems in the upper pond with that lock that doesn't work. The last time we had a heavy rain, we ended up putting tarps and rocks to try to stem the flow so that we didn't lose the impoundment or that large embankment that's around it. If we lose that embankment, we lose the entire, what's called Lake Albion behind it, because we don't have a way to stop it. But the problem is and I understand, we're kind of in I want to call it a circular firing squad with this issue. Do we remove it? Do we keep it? What's it cost to keep it? How do we remove it? The state and all of their wonderful things that they do requires more and more and more reporting on these things. So not only do we have to have an asset management plan to keep the dam committee or the dam people with the DNR are telling us that we have to have these things. We have to report annually. We have to have an emergency response plan. We have to have a number of things that I don't know where they are right at the moment.
Right, I think that, thank you.
Okay, so the two questions that come right off the top that we need to get answers for before I could possibly support this is who owns each dam?
Yeah.
Okay, if, I'll just put it bluntly, if the college in fact owns the dam, then we probably are gonna take a different approach going, hey, you own it, you're putting the city at risk. If this fails, what are you gonna do?
We do know that we own the one in Victory Park.
The
That
Victory
Okay.
Park is
city
truly
property.
All right,
ours,
so
and
there's
this
the
is
answer
what
to the
this
first
is-
question. We absolutely
is-
own it, no question.
Right, no questions
Okay.
about that at all. We are, as a city, responsible for the dam in Victory Park.
Okay, so if it fails, the liability belongs to the city. Now that we're on public record, we all know it's at risk.
Yes.
It's incumbent for us to do something, okay? But again, before we go spend money to figure out what it's gonna cost to fix it, I wanna know what's the impact if it gets removed. Because I understand and I know that there is multiple grants, multiple state funding, probably federal as well, if you choose to remove it. And so being able to afford to remove it may be the best option, but you said there were two houses at least at risk of being flooded, so that may not be the right answer.
That's not pertaining to that.
Okay.
That's.
Okay.
Right.
All right,
Haley
so
is-
I want to know what the impact is going to be if that dam in Victory Park gets removed. And if the impact is minimal, then I think the next step is to have a public hearing, provide opportunity for the residents to go, save our dam, we love it, or don't spend $20,000 just to figure out what it's going to cost to fix it, get it out. Councilmember Williamson.
Actually, I was going to ask, is there a way that this company that does the fixing, can they actually do the assessment? Can they provide an assessment of what happens if we remove it? I imagine that the Rising Tide Committee, which is a group of volunteers and community people, don't want to provide any expertise on what happens if it gets removed as a professional opinion because they don't have insurance to really back that up. So I'm assuming that a professional consultant might be able to provide advice as to what, could it be that you bring this into one proposal where we get answers for both things and can move forward? Or do we have to?
I don't think we have to move forward. We don't have to move forward today on it. This is, This is a part of the asset management plan that has to be involved in the entire scope of a comprehensive master plan. If the idea is to remove the dam, I think it changes the scope of what's necessary, because now we're no longer looking at assessing it for
Right.
keeping it. I can talk with Whiteman and Associates and get an idea if we can incorporate a little bit more into this to say, okay, well, how far do we need to assess this? I'll have to give it a lot more thought.
I think we're on the path to table.
I think when it comes down to it, we're either going to spend money on an asset management plan for the dam, or we are going to be spending money on a feasibility study for the removal. So I would suggest that we reach out to Whiteman and Associates and check out to see if they can assist us in conducting that feasibility study, kind of package it together with the asset management plan, so then we can propose both to you. And if it is cheaper to move forward with removing it, obviously, just depending on what council wants to do, we can go that way, or we would have what it would be to repair and for a yearly upkeep.
So, Ms. Nalune, I think you said there are people from the DNR, at least a rep from the DNR, state, other folks, and I know they push. I've been to several meetings over the past 2 years where this topic has come up, and they always dangle it out there as that, hey, there is funding available if you choose to remove it.
I have reached
Can
out
you-
to MEDC and DNR. They do not provide funding for feasibility studies.
Okay,
So that
but can you
falls-
reach out to those people and see if there's any assistance they can provide so we can help assess what the impact is going to be if those dams are removed?
So
Yes.
as Haley just stated, unfortunately, this first initial step of either an asset management plan or feasibility study is required by the city before we will receive any additional assistance. We have reached out to our community action team specialist who works essentially with all state departments to connect Rising Tide communities with assistance, and there is not any assistance for us at this point. But I think from this very fruitful discussion that we've had, we do recognize some other elements to include in our next step, so I appreciate the feedback from everybody, and hopefully that answers your question.
Councilmember Spicer.
Thank you. I just have one, I think, final comment. The dam that we're thinking about assessing, evaluating, is not the dam where the accident occurred, correct? Also, as a part, then, that leads me to this thought. As a part of the assessment of the dams, our dams, could we possibly get an assessment as to, what could cause that, how we can prevent it, and I guess if we're gonna get answers about our dams, maybe we can get an answer about that dam as well. Do you understand how?
Yep, that was part of our discussion, like I said, after the tragedy that occurred, and right now Director Tracy is looking into the deed on who owns that dam, so that we can move forward in addressing it. Yep.
Any other questions? Councilmember Williamson.
I think Acting Assistant Manager Snyder did a really good job of kind of explaining how we have more information that we need to have for us, kind of talking about two paths. So I would move that we table this until we have that information and take it up at another meeting in the future.
It's been moved. Is there support for tabling this? Okay, moved and supported. All those in favor of tabling this, say aye. Aye. Okay, we will table this. Okay, next item. Thank you, Mr. Phillips, appreciate it, and Ms. Snyder. I echo what Councilmember Williamson said, excellent job. Okay. Item F, request approval for Transportation Management Assessment Plan, and it's roughly right around $2,000, or $20,000, I'm sorry. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Mr. Phillips.
So again, this is another part of that larger asset management plan and comprehensive management plan. We have had a PACER analysis done, which basically goes through all of our roads and rates them on a scale. I have a copy of that, but I do not have it with me. It shows obviously that our roads are terrible. But what we're trying to do with the asset management plan is to take that PACER report and put it into a 3-5-year plan based on severity, based on the water analysis, or, the lead and copper and the water asset management plan, and fold those all together. So that gives us a clear path, clear picture of what we need to do and how we need to move forward.
This is for the entire city.
This is for the entire city, yes.
All right. Questions or comments from council? Okay. Okay, seeing no further comments, Mr. Mickey, would you read the roll? And this again is for approval for the Transportation Management Assessment Plan at approximately $20,000.
Councilmember Spicer,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed, Lawler,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Okay, it is approved. Next item. Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
You're welcome.
Okay, discussion, Dalrymple School property.
I'll just stay up here.
Councilmember Williamson.
How long have we known that it's been contaminated?
We got a report approximately that I got my hands on approximately 2 months ago. I didn't bring that up with me. What it is it's a non-inhabitable property, meaning as it stands, we couldn't build on that or live on that. There's not enough to cause it to be cordoned off and fenced in and no admittance. There's enough on it that if you were to build on it, you wouldn't be allowed to do that. You would have to take the dirt out of there to the level where you didn't have any more of the contamination, and then you could rebuild or put dirt back in there and then build. The problem that is on it right now is arsenic. There's a small amount of arsenic level in the dirt on the ground in that area when they were doing the sampling. I should have brought I'm sorry that I didn't bring that report with me. It's the whole area in there, and I don't know if it came from the tearing down of the school.
Let me interject one thing, okay, because I had a conversation with Chief Kipp on this. This is going to go directly to the question that you asked, okay? So the arsenic came from the landfills, the source of the dirt they took to put the landfill to build the school on. So it predates construction of the school. One of the terms of sale, when the city got it from the land bank, and I don't know when that took place, I don't know how long ago, but one of the conditions, you're asking how long do we know about this, one of the conditions when the city agreed to take that is we would be responsible for preventing further contamination, et cetera. The reason it hasn't been mowed is because it's in the surface soil, and the concern is if you start mowing the grass, it will kick up dust and then it will spread the arsenic around.
Okay, so that didn't answer my question, but, so should people be walking on it?
It's not to that level of contamination where it's going to be dangerous to the public. It is considered uninhabitable, meaning you cannot build on it. Can you walk on it? Yes. Should you put a tent on it? No. But there's certain levels of contamination, and it doesn't meet the requirement of say the landfill that's outside of town that we take care of, the old city landfill. That is a mess, and that is fenced off and monitored. This isn't to the point of even being well monitored or even done anything with. It's a small amount of contamination that was found, and they're saying that if you want to put a housing development on it, you'd have to take all of that dirt off first before you could do that. But as far as walking across it, we've discussed putting a path across there for people that use it to walk. We've discussed just leaving it grow so that no one goes on it. There are a couple of no trespassing signs where the road inlet comes in, but I don't think it's really sufficient to say that, hey, there is contamination on this ground, please stay off.
Is it incredibly costly to put up that orange tape around it to make sure that people aren't on it?
It doesn't stay. Even a 10-foot fence didn't stay. It got cut, it got torn down, or it was a large fence. It got climbed over.
Have we looked at the cost of remediating the problem?
No, we have not.
That was what I was wondering. How deep does it go into the ground? And could that be checked into how deep the arsenic is level, it is? And approximately how much would it take to clean it up?
Councilmember Spicer.
If we,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
because if we could get it cleaned up, it might be able to be used for something like, some people talk about a senior center. So, and the longer, and the next thing, the longer it stays, is it the deeper it goes, the longer it stays?
I don't believe it was with that particular issue. It didn't have a groundwater warning or anything like that with it.
Councilmember Spicer.
Thank you. I'm just going to play, no, I was going to say devil's advocate, but no, I'm not. I'm just going to say that if I lived near there, around there, had my kids or friends' children or niece and nephew to walk through there, and there was even a tiny bit of contamination in that ground, I wouldn't want them to be doing that. I just wouldn't want them to have access to it.
And from
So-
what, I'm sorry.
So I know you're saying there is, we've tried fencing, it doesn't stay, I think we should do something. I don't know if you can look in, like she said, Councilwoman Reed said something about considering seeing what it would cost to get it removed or some additional type of fencing. I don't think we should just say, there's nothing we can do about it and just leave it to people in their own hands, because some people will, dive off of a bridge into the water and thinking they're gonna survive, and they're not. So, sometimes you have to kind of look out for people because they don't look out for themselves. So, as a city and as a council, I think that it is incumbent upon us to explore what might be possible to prevent people from doing harm to themselves.
Sorry I interrupted. I think we need to go back to what the mayor said, because I didn't really have that piece. How many people in here went to Dalrymple School?
I did,
You played on it.
yeah. I'm sitting now.
So it's not to a level where it's a public health concern, but it is there. And
But the thing is, we always find out 20 years later that it did us harm, so.
right, yeah.
Councilmember Reed.
My whole thing is it's doing us no good just sitting there like that, because you can't use it for anything that you can make money from.
Oh, we can't use it for anything.
Yeah, so if some kind of way we got it cleaned up, there might be a prospective buyer who would want to use it to either put a senior housing there, or maybe even a complex or something, which would give some benefit to the city, so.
And it's a council decision. Do you place that the onus of responsibility on a developer, or do we do that as a city to take care of a problem that's been there for a long time? It's just, I guess the question is, and the problem that we've had is, why aren't we mowing it? Why isn't it being cared for? And what we're trying to do right now is keep the right-of-way mowed and 2 or 3 passes just inside the sidewalk mowed. And that's really all. With that knowledge of the contamination, that's all I'd want the guys at Department of Public Services to be on it and doing.
Well, if I was in business and I knew that it was contaminated and you didn't clean it up before you wanted to sell it to me, I would not want to buy it. You would keep it. And so,
If we could find somebody that was willing to develop something on it, it would qualify for the brownfield and other things to cover those costs. But it seems to me the general consensus is we'd like, and I'll talk to the city manager who's here, we would like to have a better understanding of what the levels of the contamination are, what the restrictions are on it, what our options are, so that we can make a determination whether just keep doing what we're doing or something different. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, discussion, action, application for mechanical amusement device for Cascarellis. May I have a motion? Okay.
So, council recall, this actually came before the council before and it was tabled. Unfortunately, with this particular application, the application or the permit fee did not clear. So at this time, the staff cannot recommend approval of the application. Certainly, the applicant could reapply and tender payment, but since the fee is not there, the staff can't recommend it.
That's that.
Next.
So now you need a motion.
Someone wish to make a motion, either to table this indefinitely, or make a motion to approve it, and then we can take a vote. Somebody make a motion, please. Councilmember Lawler.
I make a motion to table indefinitely.
Okay, is there a support? Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of tabling item H, discussion action application for mechanical amusement device for Cascarellis. All those in favor of tabling that indefinitely say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we will table that. Okay. All right. Everyone, the next item is the approval of appointment for citizens ad hoc advisory committees. There are 3 committees. Everyone should have a list of the members of the 3 committees in front of you. And I'll read the members so that everybody will know what they are, and then we'll vote on these as a group. So the first is the Recreation Advisory Committee. Councilmember Reed is the council lead on that. The other committee members is Mr. Williams, Larry Williams, our Recreation Director.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes?
Before you, can you just tell us how the advisory committees came to be before you tell us who the members are?
Okay.
Just decided. I guess, yeah. Can you tell us how they came?
So with the advisory committees, that was discussed during our study sessions on each of these areas, and I worked with the individuals who are, the council members who are the lead. We had a discussion back and forth, and as we said, we'll follow the process and procedure in the charter, which is the mayor appoints and council confirms. So how these individuals were selected for those was a discussion between myself as the mayor and whoever the council lead is. With, in this case, it's Councilmember Reed. For the workforce development, Councilmember Brown is the lead, and we exchanged information via email. That's how that was done.
Perfect, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so for the Recreation Advisory Committee, again, the council lead is Councilmember Reed. Mr. Williams, the Recreation Directors, Jim Stewart, Jock Short, and I may have mispronounced the name, my apologies, Micah Dorkison, Hazel Elias, and a representative from the Fork Senior Center. Those will be the members appointed to that, and there are a lot of other people I know that several council members offered their support and assistance as required. For the Workforce Development Advisory Committee, Councilmember Brown is the lead. Sharon Pons, Stacy Stewart, Tanika Thomas, Keena Williams, Miss Vivian Davis, who's affiliated and representing KCC, and Ben Wallace, who is the principal for the Marshall Opportunity High School. The Infrastructure Committee consists of myself as the lead. County Commissioner Tompkins has agreed to serve on that. And then we have a representative from each precinct and Mr. Phillips. And so the representatives from Precinct 1 is Mr. Dunklin, Johnny Dunklin, who's here this evening. Maurice Berry from Precinct 2. Al Smith from Precinct 3. Kelly Rice from Precinct 4. Mr. Robert Dunklin from Precinct 5, and Andy French from Precinct 6. And again, the County Commissioner Tompkins and Mr. Phillips. So those are the members on these committees. May I have a motion to approve, confirm the appointees?
I have a point of information before we vote. Did all of these members have to meet the same standards that people who serve on other boards and commissions in the city?
Not boards and commissions, no.
Okay. So there's technically people who might be on these committees who could have situations where they're in debt to the city or they have various fines, things like that, but they're going to serve on these committees.
As an advisory committee, yes. Okay. So may I have a motion?
Are there people, actually, are there
Well,
people
can
on
we
these
get the
lists?
motion second, and then we'll have discussion? Okay, is there support?
Support.
Thank you. Now, discussion.
Okay, well, are there people on this list who have applied to be on boards and commissions and have been turned down from serving in that role? Or being offered spots on these committees?
Off the top of my head, I don't believe so. If you have somebody specific,
Jill, the clerk would know.
do you have a particular person that you have concern with?
Well, no, I'm just asking.
Stacy Stewart had applied before for the DDA
Mm-hmm.
and was not able to be on there.
Okay.
That's the only one.
I didn't hear that, sorry.
Stacy Stewart, she applied for DDA.
Oh, okay.
Any further questions or comments?
That's the only one.
Yes.
Only one was management.
And I believe that was several months ago, so what the status on that is, I don't know. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to
So there's
approve.
an-
Go ahead.
Excuse me. So, we'll make sure that, because it's a concern of the council member, we'll make sure that she is clear.
There's no requirement for that. We could, if you want to make that a requirement, these are not established boards and commissions. These are people that are going to volunteer and provide advice, and then that recommendations will come back to the council, which is not what the other boards and commissions do. So, but go ahead. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to confirm these appointments as read. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, they've been approved. All right. Okay, future agenda items. Council members. Okay. So do you know when the meeting is scheduled?
No, I'm informed that, Director Tracy is out of the office until
Next week.
next week.
Okay.
So,
So I know we have a pretty full agenda for the 15th, so it'll probably be in August if you could, if that's acceptable.
perfect.
Okay. Councilmember Williamson.
An update on the city manager search?
Yep, that is scheduled. I've talked with Joyce Parker, and that will be on the 5th of August, which is the first meeting in August.
And our plans was to have it filled by September.
It's in September, I don't recall when. Okay, the announcement, and the reason that was the 5th of August, as explanation, the announcements closes on the 12th, and that would not provide MML enough time to go through and do what they need to do, to go through those, so that was what suited that executive search first, or best, rather. Councilmember
I
Williamson.
requested at the last meeting, kind of an update on the comprehensive programs on recreation and what they're doing in the community this summer and what the plans were. I noticed that was not on the agenda tonight. I was wondering, could it be on the next agenda?
Larry
Yes.
wasn't able to make the meeting tonight, that's why it wasn't on there.
Yeah.
So I did put it on.
And I
for
saw
the
swing was
next meeting.
canceled this week, and, yeah.
Any other council member for future agenda items?
So is that going on for the next meeting or for future?
It was scheduled for this one, but as Ms. Domingo said, Mr. Williams couldn't make this meeting, so it is tentatively on for next meeting.
Not too long.
Yeah, but I'm sure we will have it on there.
Could the mayor share what is on the meeting for the 15th that's clogging everything up?
Well, there's nothing clogging it up.
He's saying it's like full, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's getting quite full, and I'll explain it here in a minute. Okay? Okay, so, for the next meeting at 6 p.m., Oak Lawn will be providing a construction tour of the Pace facility at B Drive North, then the Cram Building, followed after that by the Cram Building, where they're doing vision and hearing, and then they'll be making a presentation during the regular council meeting. So council members will be invited, if they wish to attend that, at 6 p.m. at B Drive North. And then they'll go from there to Cram Building, and then we'll come back here for the regular meeting. Okay, one of the items on the agenda for next week, which I think is going to be a lively discussion, beg your pardon? Not next week, next meeting, thank you. Okay, is a presentation by the tax assessor and discussion of that. There is concern throughout the community that nonprofits are beginning to get tax bills. And so we're going to have a discussion on that and an explanation on that. I've had several people that have different 401s and charitable organizations that have voiced concerns. So I'm going to have the tax assessor to come in, and it will, so that's on the agenda for next week. Ask the council leads for the council goals to give us an update on where those are, what they've done, and they can tell people when they're meeting, et cetera. I would propose that we put on the agenda a discussion we can either wait another council meeting, but for the council to put together a list of priorities to provide to the incoming city manager, and that may shape how we do the interview process, that sort of thing. So that's technically on there. And then we're going to have a presentation, and Mr. Mead could tell us roughly how long that will take. The annual audit will be on the report out on that will be at the next meeting on the 15th, and those roughly take how long?
Not long, 15 minutes maybe.
Okay. My recollection, the one I sat through was it went an hour, but that's obviously not right. I know I had two other items, but I can't recall what they were. So that's what I have for future agenda items. So it probably will be Mr. Williams for the recreation. Anything else? Any other future agenda items by council? Did that answer your question? Okay. All right. City managers report.
Didn't do public
Did I skip over it?
The second public comment.
Oh, thank you. Public comments.
Hi, I am Lori Grinnell. I am the pastor at Salem United Church of Christ, 113 West Pine Street. Several people from the community have come to me and asked what the clergy are doing to help repair divisions within the city. And my response has been, gee, I don't think anything. So Salem is having Peace, P-E-A-C-E, of pie and prayer in Crowell Park, which is the park under the water tower. We will bring out tables and chairs and the necessities to serve the pie, and would ask people who attend to bring their favorite kind. It's my experience, you can't be angry and share pie. So hopefully this event will remind us that we are a community, help us to work through our differences, help us to be more determined to live as a community. This isn't about, I have the right way to go and I'm going to convince you of what it is. It is about building connections again, repairing rifts, remembering that we need to live together in some sort of unity, and that doesn't mean as all being like thinkers. There will be a PA system available, so anyone who wants to share words of healing can be heard. If people are not sharing words of healing, the microphone will get turned off. But this is open to anybody in Albion who is interested in being part of a movement of building strong community and healing our differences. And I have some flyers if you would like to take them. Thank you.
Other public comments this evening?
Good evening. Tom Hunsdorfer, 803 South Superior. Good to see you all. A quick comment on an earlier item. I think some of you know another resource related to the dam and what's going on in the river is the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council. They held an event in town here several months ago. They have looked at pretty much every dam in the state on the Kalamazoo River from here all the way to Lake Michigan, and they have some out-of-town folks in addition to Tom Wilch and others at the college who've looked at this. So another resource related to the dam. What I wanted to offer a few comments on and a few questions relates to fireworks in our community. This past Saturday night at about 11:30 p.m. after trying to get to sleep for an hour and a half, I finally went outside and talked to a pretty large group that were on the west side of 500 South Ionia. There's a large empty lot there. There's a basketball hoop's been put up, but lots of fireworks going on. And I said, you know, we got 90-year-old people in the building I'm in, and I was probably a bit irate. And they said, well, the city ordinance says you can have fireworks a week ahead of July 4th and a week after, and that didn't sound right to me. So I did want to ask if, in some form, the language of the ordinance can actually be communicated to the public over the next 48 hours, maybe the e-news, maybe the police department's social media site, just to let people know what the hours are and are not for fireworks. One of my concerns is that, many of you probably know, fireworks are really stressful for dogs. So I know a number of people who have dogs who, it's bad enough if it's just the night that we do fireworks in town, but if it extends over a 10-day or 2-week period, the dogs are losing their minds. I think fireworks are a remarkable part of our country's tradition. We celebrate our independence. We celebrate being a community. We see beautiful lights going up in the sky on one evening, but it seems like it's really stretched out. So if Chief Kipp can hear my concerns, I'd be grateful. In addition to people losing their sleep, one of the other things that happens is a lot of birds die because they are roosting at night. They're up in a tree, they're startled by this noise, and they fly into the side of a building. So wildlife gets killed by the fireworks. Again, I think the fireworks in Albion are beautiful. They're a wonderful part of our tradition. But just that we not let this evolve into, you can disturb the peace for the next 10 days by just setting off noise. It's not even lights in the sky, just boom, boom, noise. Let's wake people up. So, thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments?
Hello, my name's John Dunklin. I was wondering if about the dam, has Albion College thought about doing any simulation? When I make something, I get a computer and I simulate it to see if it's gonna fold, break, or bust. I know somebody's at Albion College that could pick up a program for $100 and simulate where the water, the speed, and how much water is gonna go into an area. Nobody mentioned any simulation. I'm wondering why.
Eric Tobin, 409 West Ash, and I'll try to slow down this time. Sorry. So on the dam thing, another resource might be the Calhoun County Conservation District. They actually work in the USDA's building out in Marshall, and so they would be a great resource. They actually did some preliminary studies of the sediment before and after the dam, and that's something that is required to do before you do a dam removal. So they were actually doing the work, the preliminary work, so that you can get to that phase of doing the dam removal. I actually have copies of those sediment analysis because I actually sat on the board for 4 years. So anyways, on Darwimple, another thing to think about is last year I had to report ORVs in there twice. So they were up kicking up dust, and the dust was probably 15, 20 feet in the air. So it wasn't just people walking through there. Since my property is a property where a lot of people walk past, one of the things that we end up with is a lot of trash in our yard that is not ours. So I'm in favor of discouraging traffic of walking to, not creating a path, not encouraging someone to walk through. And I'm talking all kinds of trash. Since Fedco closed down, our amount of alcohol bottles has decreased. So I hit less alcohol bottles with my lawnmower now. But and I saw one there the other day, so there still is one there. But it's just something that I'd like you to consider. Again, we don't have any problem with the mowing it, and we live right there. So, but I think that there's other folks around there that are concerned with having the weeds up tall, close to their property lines. So, thanks.
Juanita Solis, Kidder, 1211 Edwards. And piggybacking on Tom, New Year's Eve, the fireworks, all that, but they also shoot their guns. And that morning, the next morning, New Year's Day, I step out of my front door and there's a bullet slug right there, like two steps away from my front door. So I lived around the corner in a big house, and the guy used to shoot. I thought it sounded like a cannon. But anyway, I had to spend New Year's Eve in the bathroom in the middle of my living room, the first floor, with my doggie because, these guns and these fireworks and everything. So it's not just the fireworks and the noise and all that, it's also guns. And so now when I showed the bullet fragment to somebody and to confirm, and so now I'm thinking, okay, so now here's a holiday coming. I'm going to have to go hide in the basement or something because something could come in my window. Just saying.
Are there further public comments this evening? County Commissioner Tompkins.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Ms. Snyder, Ms. Domingo, residents of the city of Albion, and folks watching this evening, good evening. Gary Tompkins, your county commissioner. It's always good to be with you folks each and every month. We'll be real quick to try to be, because I know it's very, very warm, and I'll try to get you guys, I don't want to berate that. So first of all, on the senior front, good news on the senior front. Just recently, the Senior Millage Allocation Committee, which I'm certainly honored to chair that committee, approved a mini grant in the amount of $5,000 towards the building of the new Holland Park Pavilion. Close proximity to the Forks Senior Center, as well as the exercise equipment there, made for an easy move for all. Each it was a unanimous vote, and we certainly are honored to be able to contribute to that moving forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. So it's a good deal. Real quickly on the health department front, the Calhoun County Health Department clinic offices will be closed Wednesday, July 3rd and July 5th, as well as all county offices closed on July 4th in observance of the holiday. The Calhoun County Health Department clinic staff will be using this time to continue implementation of a new electronic record keeping system. The system will allow the staff to more effectively serve the Calhoun County Committee. WIC clients will still be able to access WIC services at the Albion Department, at the Albion Health Department on Friday, July 5th, and both clinics will reopen on Monday, July 8th. So just information for anybody that certainly utilizes the clinics, and let them be aware of that. All right, real quickly, my newsletter is available. If you're not on the email list, if you want to, certainly email me at the bottom of the sheet, and we'll get you hooked up. Hard copies are now available at the Albion District Library as well. It's a great resource to know what's going on in and around the 7th District. This month's newsletter on pages 4 and 5, this is part 2 of a series that I've started to lay out, which basically is road funding facts and figures on why the current system will never address the issue that we have. I know infrastructure certainly is on your guys', each and every one of your guys' list. We can drive down any street in the city of Albion, as well as a lot of roads in Calhoun County, and see the very issues that we have. Specifically on page 4, one of the things that I point out is this complicated flow chart, which is Act 51. And if you can follow it, I will give you absolute many credits, because I'll tell you, it shouldn't be this difficult. It needs to be this easy. You know, we've had this Act 51 in place for 68 years, and look what we have right now in terms of when you walk out here and you drive outside here. If you got money, just putting more money into a system that is broken will never get you where you want to be. I mean, I think there's an old saying, isn't it? If you try to do the same thing over and over again, you get the same result no matter what you do. Well, this is what we have. And one of the difficulties that I have is right now is we don't have anybody in the state legislature, and I think I've mentioned that wants to touch Act 51, which is kind of sad because, again, while they don't want to touch it for a variety of reasons, we all continue to struggle and try to figure out where do we get the $10,000, where do we get the $5,000, where do we get this? And then what do you do with residents who have issues with their tires and things break down? As a matter of fact, we talk about transportation, correct? You know, one of the transportation study that we're currently conducting, Community Action, which is a very high player certainly in Calhoun County as relates to transportation. I talked to a gentleman the other day. He says, Gary, the roads are killing our vehicle fleet right now. We're so backed up now with a waiting list because our fleet of buses right now, there's more that's in the shop that's actually in operation. That's a problem for everybody. So it isn't just the roads. It's about people getting from point A to point B. So again, page 4, take a look at that. Like I said, if you could figure it out, everybody gets a gold star for that one. So, and on page 5, also talk about the complicated formulas for counties and cities and villages. As we go, another complicated formula, a complicated mechanism, a complicated this and a that and the other thing that you have to go hoops through. You know, if you take a look at things like, for the city of Albion, for instance, you get $43.96 per person for every major road mile you have, $43. And then if you're doing really good, you're gonna get, for local street mileage, which is a majority of what the city of Albion is, you get $3,335 per mile. Now, last time I checked, to resurface a road, you're gonna cost you anywhere from $100 to $200 to $300 to $400,000 a mile. So tell me how this solves our issue. So again, as I've always told you, I'm not critical of anybody putting out a plan. I think I've stated that. Anybody wants to put out a proposal, but I think unless you're willing to deal with what the root cause is, which is this Act 51, old, antiquated, ineffective system that gives more money to others, unfortunately, because just for the sake of doing it, based on a lot of different things, 25 years from now, after all of us are gone, there'll be the same people. People will be in these chairs, including the person here. We're going to be talking about how are we going to deal with these roads? How are we going to fix them? So we got to think real tough, real strong about it. I'm not anything against proposals, but one of the things I had an opportunity to do is I did talk to our senator. He asked me quite bluntly, what is your plan then? And I gave him my plan, because there is a plan out there to make this very simple and effective and gets money down to you folks so that you can actually utilize what you need at a road. $59,000 extra a year is not going to get you what you need road-wise. Get you a couple shabs of asphalt and there you go. Not going to work. So good information. Just take a look at it. And again, if you guys can decipher it, you're certainly better than I am on that one. And then on page 6, one of the things I also put on here was I provide some facts and figures regarding the new Senior Care Partners PACE Center, which you just mentioned, which is the program for the all-inclusive of the elderly center that's going to be opening in Albion in early 2020. What a wonderful program. I had the chance to actually attend to visit the PACE Center in Battle Creek that they have right now. And I can tell you what a welcome addition will be to the east side of the county to actually have that. Many people that I talk to on the eastern side of the county, you know, this is a program where it basically keeps a lot of our elderly in their homes longer. It gives them, a lot of our elderly want to stay in their homes longer. This opportunity gives them that opportunity. Many people that I talk to just simply say, I can't take a drive 45 minutes to the other side of the county. I can't sit for that long. I don't have the ability to do so. This brings us closer to having that total care to the eastern half of Calhoun County. So again, just facts and figures, and I think it's a great program. As a matter of fact, I've already made a couple referrals to it, as a matter of fact, because I do believe in the program based on what I've seen and talking with the folks. And then finally this evening,
I was going to ask you a question about that.
Yeah.
The Senior Allocations Committee, I know that you're the chair.
Yes.
What did they end up getting to PACE?
We're at a discussion point right now about that. We had a good long discussion about that.
So
We're not any decision been made, but there's some folks I've talked to relative to that very question, and yes, it is being. It's good. Yeah, that's correct. So yes. To answer your question, that has been. We're talking about that. I should ask any more questions from anybody. I never like to be the bearer of bad information, but the road thing really, really gets me because it's tough, because we always are talking about it and we never feel like we ever get the right solution. So finally, I just want to take the opportunity to wish each and everybody a happy 4th of July. I hope you get a chance to spend time. I know I have my son. I'm going to take my son out. We're going to do fireworks in Albion on July 3rd, which is always an awesome thing. But also, too, I would be remiss if I didn't find it this evening, is to wish Councilmember Spicer a happy birthday that will be on July 4th. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remembered. You know, who has a birthday on 4th of July? I think it's so cool. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. So, again, you had a question, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So I've always wondered why Michigan is opposed to toll roads. Is that at?
Well, I will say that from understanding, it's been discussed somewhat at the state level, but the issue is the putting in the cost that it would take to put toll roads in Michigan. Typically what you'd see is like in Ohio, they were developed. That was all one development. You put the 80-90 toll road in and all your toll booths and everything else were put in. I mean, that would essentially be what Michigan would be required to do. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't just simply be, okay, you've got to pay a fee. I guess you could, but I've not seen a system that's been offered that would get us anywhere where we need to go. And the problem is I don't think the toll roads are the ultimate solution. Could it be part of it? Absolutely. But I think more so than anything else, we've got to take the money rather than it sitting up here and getting distributed to all these different areas, to interdepartmental grants and et cetera, which accounts to about $540 million under Act 51 and how it's distributed. Get the money down, straight flow it down to the people who can use it, who need it, and let you guys do what you need to do. Because, again, at the end of the day, the taxpayers expect things to be done, and there's a lot of talk that goes on, and I'm not one side or the other. A lot of talk goes on and not a lot gets done. But I know I get calls every day from my constituents. I know you folks are struggling with it here in the city of Albion, so we all deal with it. So it's certainly something that needs to be dealt with. And I hope that my discussions with not only the senator but other legislators will actually get them in motion to start talking about what needs to happen, as opposed to just continuing the same old thing we always do. So, anything else?
So you answered my question by saying what?
Oh, in terms of, yes, there has been discussions about toll roads, but no concrete plan of action. It's been more about 45 cents in gas tax, and again, that's not putting on anybody. I applaud, well, I want to make it clear, I applaud her for putting it out there on the table. I think part of the negotiation process, you put a proposal out, you work to get to that point, right? So, and then the other side is, well, let's do 6% sales tax, but then if you redivert money from the sales tax, then you've got other areas that are going to not get funded anymore that are already dependent upon the sales tax, the 6% sales tax. So there's no solution that really anybody's putting out there and nobody's coming together to talk about it. It's just everybody sits in their corners and talk. So yes, it's been a discussion, but nothing of concrete nature really. It's been more of a surface, 30,000 feet type discussion that's been made. So.
Because it seems like to me, every state that I go to, they have toll roads.
Yeah, well, essentially what happened is they did it right the first time, and really if you look at the states around us, a lot of them have invested in in infrastructure and roads, much to a bigger degree than what Michigan has. Michigan has never made it a priority. When you've got states, Indiana, Ohio, other states, Illinois, they all average about anywhere from $300 to $500 per person in terms of what their funding is. Michigan was at about $160. I mean, we've not done a good job of making roads our priority. But now, and the problem is, we're down that road now where now they have to be a priority, and now everybody's going to bicker about where that money comes from to get it done right. So that's essentially what happens. So, anything else from anybody? It's always a pleasure every month. You guys have had a happy 4th of July and happy birthday, ma'am. Absolutely. You're welcome. Absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, city manager's report.
Yes. And I guess I just want to add to what Commissioner Tompkins was saying. Unfortunately, Michigan is ranked 50th when it comes to local revenue sharing. So it is important that we do get out there and speak to our representatives, because that's a problem. We are the lowest when it comes to what our states are channeling down to our local municipalities. But I have a few updates for you. So myself, interim manager Kip, and Ms. Lanu, our community development fellow, we held a conference call last Tuesday with Karen Weaver. She is our RRC planner with MEDC. For those of you who do not know, RRC is redevelopment ready communities. So we just discussed the city's status, and we are approaching the final stages of becoming certified. We are just waiting on our zoning rewrite, which is in the process, which is almost complete. I believe they just have a few more meetings, and then they are looking to take it to planning and then present it to you as well. And then our marketing strategy, which we actually just received a version from Eric with the Chamber of Commerce. They have put something together, so we are just tweaking a few things on that, and then we will be getting that submitted to the MEDC for approval, and we will be one step closer to being RRC certified. A few updates on the North Street project. Last week they were working to complete the water main connections, and hopefully those should have been completed today. And beginning Tuesday or Wednesday, we will begin pulverizing the road. Due to the holiday this week, the crews will be out working until 7 p.m. on Wednesday, so a little later than they normally do. And no work will be done on Thursday the 4th. But the project continues to move forward, so that's always a good thing. Street sweeper, many of you probably have noticed that there was a street sweeper out and about last week. It was discussed a little bit during our study session. So DPW workers, they worked around the clock all of last week to get our streets swept and clean. Unfortunately, it sounds like a precinct was missed, so we will be able to gather the info on what was done, look into possibly if this is something we want to continue to do. It was about $4,200 to rent the sweeper for the week, and it's about $240,000 to purchase a brand new street sweeper. So once we get that information put together, conduct a report and present it to you, I guess we can look forward to see if we need to do this quarterly, twice a year, more often, or if we just need to look into purchasing a new street sweeper so we can have that on hand whenever we need to. So look forward to that report being presented to you guys in the near future. I just want to highlight a few individuals in our Public Works Department who have received new license certifications. Jay Loomis passed his D to S2 and is now licensed to operate our water system. Mike Lorkey and Patrick Miller have both passed their D4S4 water license and the C wastewater license, and both are studying for their B wastewater license and their D2S2 license. So I just want to highlight their accomplishments. Citywide cleanup, as a reminder, is Saturday, July 27th from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. We will be utilizing Harris Field and Ketchum Field. Electronics and tires can be taken to Ketchum Field only, as well as large equipment and other pieces of things you're looking to get rid of. And then just a final reminder that City Hall will be closed on Thursday, July 4th in observance of the holiday. And I would just like to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July.
Thank you. Okay. Council member comments. City Attorney Harris.
Just because there were several comments about it, just so the council and the public's aware. As far as fireworks, because of the way the days fall this year, they're permitted to be used from June 29th through July 5th, 11 a.m. to 11:45 p.m. And they may not be used on any public property, school property, church property, or any property of any other person without permission.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Lawler.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to recognize in 4th Precinct our Heritage Bed and Breakfast. Just want to say thank you for your service. The people that you have served, the parents you've served for Albion College is greatly appreciated from the city of Albion, and we hope that you enjoy your retirement.
Councilmember Reed.
Just like to say to all seniors and to Gary, thank you very much for the $5,000 grant that we got from them to work on Holland Park, which will go towards when we got the Cronin Foundation grant, we had to do a matching. So we got the $5,000 from them and to go towards the match for the $25,000. So we're just working on a few more $1,000 before we'll have the money to get the pavilion put up in Holland Park. And hopefully it'll be, if not this fall,
Okay. Any other council members? Okay. So, my comments, one other item that I believe will be on the next meeting, which is the 15th of July, a report out from the local officers compensation review panel. Yep. So, that'll be on the agenda. I think there'll be something on the marketing strategy, an update on that, or a brief presentation. I've had a conversation with Eric Orley on that. And I know that public safety has some antiquated, obsolete firefighting equipment that I believe Chief Kip that'll be on the agenda to tell us what they need. It has to be replaced. I think the time frame is every 10 years, and ours are pushing 20. So we don't want to put our public safety folks at risk. We talked about what are the churches possibly doing to help us unite, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention, publicly thank the New Hope Worship Center, who put on the Party in the Park. I think it was last weekend, and or maybe it's over a week now. They had a very good turnout, lots of music, and everybody was having a great time. I think they gave away 4 bicycles down there, and local businesses gave away 4 bicycles at the Safety Expo and the Bike Rodeo and all that, and that was a big turnout. We appreciate the VistaCorp folks. And speaking of the VistaCorp folks, they're getting down to the last few months of their time here, and then that program's going to come draw to a close, and they've had a tremendous impact on our community, and I thank them for that. So possibly not the next council meeting, but not too much further after that, we'll ask for kind of a update, closeout sort of thing, and so we can thank them for all their hard work. Okay. If there's no other comments, if I have a motion to adjourn. Jesus, thank you. Okay, may I have a motion to excuse absent council members, Councilmember Brown?
I have
Oh, Councilmember Lauder.
thank you, Mayor. I'd like to, make the council aware that, Sonia is in the ER right now.
Thank you.
So just to know that she did
Yeah.
communicate with somebody.
So moved to excuse Councilmember
Okay, second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Adjourned. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'll take one of those.
Thank you.